All right. Hello, everybody. We are so glad you're here to visit with us today. We are at the Florida Center for Early Childhood's FASD team, and we are part of the FASD collective Shifts That Work, where we are talking about survival, success, and everything in between. And I am so excited for today's little chat because when we are caregivers and we are supporting individuals in our families and just as caregivers in general, we have so much on our plate that life starts life and hard sometimes for us, right? And we don't always pause to smell the roses. We don't always pause to take in the little moments. But today we are going to pause and we are going to talk about the strengths that our kiddos have. And I love having done facets training and part of one of the tools that we use when we do facets is specifically looking at our kiddos strengths, and so that's where we're going to highlight today. We are just going to zone in and we're each going to tell you a little bit about our kids and the strengths that they have, and maybe that'll get you curious and really pondering some of the strengths that your own kiddo has. um, and so I'm just going to let the team kind of take it away and we're going to share, and we hope that you like this episode. So Crystal, you have the most of our volume for children, so I'm going to have you kick us off. Tell us about your
Oh,
crew.
all right. I think first I want to say a little thing too, because I can remember days when, in an IEP meeting or anything, like even going to clinic, right? Being asked about my kids' strengths. And as much as I love my kids, there are times that it was hard to see their strengths. So we're all four of us going to talk a lot about our kids' strengths today. There might be a few, teary eyes even because we're very proud of our kids. Don't let that discourage you though. If you're having a hard time finding the strengths in your kids, you'll get there. It was hard for me too. You'll get there. So don't be discouraged. Let this encourage you. So yes, I have a lot of children with FASD, and I do know what my kids' strengths are. Some of them, my daughter, Rosemary was just talking about her a minute ago. She is so creative with makeup. She did not learn that from me. She just has such a talent for it, and not just like putting things together, but I mean, everything she does is like so precise and so even. Even if it's like shaded or anything, it's like mirror image on both sides, and I don't know how she does that. Um, but I just think that that's really cool. Another one of my kiddos is, he has a really hard time cognitively. He is, much lower on the intellectual spectrum of things. And so a lot of things are really hard for him. But one thing that he enjoys is taking things apart. We have lost a good many things, like laptops, cell phones, bikes, all kinds of things. Yeah, we've lost a lot of things. But what I've noticed though, when he takes these things apart, is that he's really good also at categorizing them. Like he takes them apart. It's almost like he's got a mission. He's not just doing it to be naughty. But when once you find what he's doing, he's got these little piles of where the pieces are going. And so I think that, that kind of leads me into, when I think of my kids' strengths, because we're taught, right? If they have FASD, that we need to lead with their strengths. And sometimes that can be hard too. If we're having difficulty figuring out what their strength is, well, how do we lead with it? And if we know what their strength is, what exactly does it mean to lead with their strength? And so, like, for my youngest with taking things apart, I automatically think, that he would be great in a recycling plant, where people are paid to take things apart. They don't have to be able to put it back together. They need to take it apart. Wires go over here, bolts go over there. It's part of taking good care of our planet. And he could have a space to fill there. He could have a purpose there. And I really like that. And then with one of my other sons, he, kind of going back to his report and looking at what the Florida Center report said about what some of his strengths are. And there was a section in there where it talked about that he picks up on connections really well and that he sees patterns really well. And so But auditory is a huge struggle for him. And uh, oh, I'll think of sequential reasoning. I don't know. I didn't know what that was. But that's also a struggle for him. Probably is for me too, since I don't know what it is. But um, because he has the strength of picking up on the connections and the patterns and things like that, we can, instead of telling him, when he was younger, instead of saying, go clean your room, lead with his strength, the patterns, the connections, uh, getting a checklist for him that's really broken down. I talk a lot about visuals because they just work for my kids, but a simple checklist of, instead of go clean your room, how about a little checklist of go pick up your clothes, put them here, go pick up your cars and trucks, they go here. And breaking it down like that, that's a pattern, and it's laid out for him, and being able to lead with his strength so that he's not getting in trouble. We're not just sending him off to his room to do a job that is too big, because of where he has some challenges, but get it put in a format that does work with his strengths. And even looking towards, he's getting, oh gosh, I was about to say he's getting close to adulthood. He is a young adult. He's not close, he is there. And so looking at how we can use those things too for employment. He's not good with quick decisions. So I'm not going to be encouraging him to go get a job at a fast food restaurant because that's not a strength of his. I'm going to look at his strengths and what jobs would he be good at? And once he gets there, what can I use, that takes his strengths into consideration to help him succeed in a job placement that would be good for him. So those are kind of some of the things that we do.
No, Crystal, I love it. And I really, really appreciate you also saying out loud what many of us experience. Because I'm just going to kind of echo really quick that I was also in a school meeting and they asked me at the beginning of this meeting to talk about my kids' strengths, right? And we were in a place of significant hard in that moment. And on the spot, being asked about it, like, so tell me something good. I'm just like, I'm struggling here at school with you guys right now, and I don't have something good to share with you. So, like, I just
That's
really
hard.
appreciate that that's something that you had to share. So, Rosemary, I'm going to let you go next.
Interestingly enough, my children, their strengths were sports. It's not typically something that children with this brain disorder excel at, but my son just, we always joke about the fact that he got the sports gene and it was not affected by the alcohol exposure at all. He was an extraordinary athlete. And although it was very hard for him to participate on team sports, mom, me got used to joining boards and making us a package deal. You want me to help? Then you're going to put up with my child. And we had the most unlikely coaches were the best ones for him because they really could see where he excelled and take advantage of it in a great way for a team sport. And then with my daughter, who has significant struggles with fine motor skills, but also had decent um, gross motor skills and was ran like the wind. She was like a gazelle running, although she really disliked running for the sake of it. And she has the developmental disability level, so she participated in Special Olympics. We did gymnastics for a number of years and bowling through them. We tried track and field, not a go. She did not like it, even though she ran faster than all the coaches and they wanted her to participate so badly. We also knew that I wasn't going to make her do something she really disliked. My children both participated on a bowling league that was for anybody who wanted to join. So we had children who were to the level where they still needed the little ramp to help with the ball, and really brilliant kids who were really good bowlers. And it was really wonderful. It gave my children opportunities to be with neurotypical kids and also gain insight into helping other children with different challenges, either physical or developmental. So we really looked at sports. And then another thing for my daughter, therapy was really a struggle for us for her because her cognitive level isn't, it's pretty affected by the exposure. So we determined that she really likes art, but she's not self-directed with it. So a lot of therapists over the years used art therapy as a way to give her something constructive to do while they were trying to talk out and give her, tips on how to deal with anxiety and stuff. And she really excelled at doing art when it was directed by an adult in a positive way. So both of those were, maybe not typical strengths, but they worked in our family very well. And I absolutely loved being a ballet mom and a soccer mom, and especially a little league mom, because my son was a 10-year-old little league champion for All Stars, which is not a common situation, but participating in all these activities, whether my kids excelled or not, was some of our best childhood memories, because they're both young adults now. And we all look back fondly at Little League and ballet class, which was almost comical some days. She just loved putting on the tutu and all the dress. And it didn't matter if she was beating to her own drum on the stage. She loved it, and they were totally understanding of her needs, and it was really a lot of fun. So, highly recommend it. And another thing for our families, sometimes our kids really do love to run, and I've heard a lot of families take advantage of cross country because it's very individualized, and there are a lot of sports. My daughter really liked to do yoga. Now, did she do real yoga poses? Probably not. However, if it made her happy to go out and feel like she was exercising to music, and enjoying it, we called it yoga, and she benefited from it. So you usually can find something that they even modified they're good at, and it can be that positive thing that you never take away, and you enjoy seeing their success at it, which is, we have to look for our positives a little harder than families with neurotypical children, but they're all the more special when we figure out what works for our kids, because they do work harder to get there, and the victories are that much sweeter. So never give up on trying to find those things besides the academics that our kids can be successful at.
So many good nuggets, Rosemary. My brain is going all over the place right now. And before I forget, I'm going to put in my own little accommodation here. Um, it makes me think a lot about how our kids succeed in ways that are different. That, like you were saying, that other families might not kind of have the typical experience navigating. And I think that's one of the reasons I really appreciate FASD United. Not everybody knows about a program that they have, but it's called Stars for Starla. And you can go onto the FASD United's website and find Stars for Starla, and you can have a certificate sent to your kiddo to recognize them in something that they are doing well. Maybe we had a whole grading period of no referrals at school or no big incidences, right? Or we're seeing progress, or we're seeing just some success. I highly recommend utilizing that, because our kids may not be the one to always get the academic or the sports achievements, the recognitions that the other students might be receiving. And that's definitely a way that it can come from somebody other than mom and dad, because, it's different when it comes from us. We're supposed to love them and care for them and all the things, right? So they see us different. Anyway, just a small little plug, because I didn't want to forget to share that. Pam, your turn. Tell us all about some strengths that you see.
So I'm Pam, and my son Alex is 21 now, and he is very creative. He's always been creative, even as a baby. When he was talking, he would just talk and talk and talk in non words, and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, oh my gosh, oh my!" And then what happened? So I always had this little play dialogue with him. But now, when he can't sleep, he'll stay up and write stories on his phone, write out starts of novels, or he's made his own imaginary fantasy baseball team with all the players' names and who they play for and what position and where they're getting traded to. So he's very creative. He's very musical. He's always, always, always been musical. He's an incredible drummer. And so one of the accommodations we did early on is instead of drumming on the TV, we got like drumsticks and a drum so we could learn appropriate places to drum. He's a great drummer. He has a synthesizer now. I can't say that word correctly, where he's learning how to use that and make some of his own beats, and he makes music on GarageBand. He can make graphics with AI. I don't really love AI, but he knows how to figure that out and talk to the little AI bots and make really incredible graphics. He made some great graphics for our FASD Awareness Month, and he made some coloring pages that the kids could color. He's a very good driver. We've been working on driving for several years since COVID, so since 2020. And again, it's supporting the kids within their strengths. So he's a very good driver. However, he lacks the impulse control to drive on his own. So just because they're good at something doesn't mean they can do it independently. He's a great driver, but he really benefits from having someone help him just in case, he can't remember where to turn or what to do at the four-way stop. So he's a very good driver, and we're still practicing that. He can make his own breakfast. Like, I'm always surprised when he can master a new skill that's been hard before. And so I buy those little breakfast sandwiches, and now every morning he'll just go make his own breakfast, which is lovely. He's very compassionate. I think he would fight someone he would definitely fight someone if they threatened his mom. He loves me and I adore him. He's really sweet. There's still really hard times. Like, just because I'm talking about how sweet he is, I mean, there are hard times, but he's just such a kind soul, and he's really protective of me. He's emerging as a self-advocate. He's trying to get out there and talk about FASD and talk about what it means to have it and to understand how his FASD affects him, because that's normal for him. Like, he is just normal. All he knows is normal. And so he doesn't know that he's a little different than everybody else, per se. So we're learning about that, and he's really growing and getting better at that. And then I would just like to say, I'd like to end by saying, I was thinking of, like, he can write his name. His name is Alex. So there's an A and an X that both kind of go like this. When he was very young, we had hours and hours and hours of occupational therapy to get him to cross the midline. And that's really common with our kids, the right brain and the left brain. The barrier that connects them and sends the messages across is often damaged. So sometimes we'll see that with our kids when they're writing an X. They can't write an X. And so I remember one day in kindergarten, he wrote X's all over his paper, and the teacher was mad. And I was like, do you have any idea the hours we have spent playing with him at home and doing occupational therapy so that he could write an X? So, and then I remember when he he learned to tie his shoes, and same thing, got in trouble at school for tying his shoes together. I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. This is a years-long victory in the making. So even though those were things that started out as weaknesses, I want to encourage you that I think our kids will do most of the things eventually. I mean, I can't promise that, but there is some power. Someday you will be able to look back on your kids and say, wow, they can do this. They can brush their teeth. They can remember to wash their hair. They can remember to close the shower curtain. Like, I promise some of these things are going to happen. Well, all of them, I don't know, but some of them will. And so don't give up. And then, like all the other team members were saying, like, focusing on their strengths really does help. See them as their own unique individual.
Those are so good, Pam. Thank you. And I think from my perspective, right, like, I'm still in the preteen years with my kiddo, and I have the luxury of being supported by each of you guys who are a little further down the road on this journey than I am. And so I just really appreciate that, we can talk about where our kids have struggled in the past and how that can become a strength and how we can see things differently. And Pam, I just always really appreciate too that you bring it back to the brain part, right? The brain science and how that's just not always connecting and talking to itself. I am going to just say, for my guy, um, it drives me insane because of how he can perseverate and get fixated so much on electronics. But for my guy, electronics is really one of his strengths. And I know that I've heard from a number of FASD families that navigating, parent controls or protections that have maybe been put in place has also been a strength for their youth. But man, I tell you, at probably at age 7, my guy was able to code a Roblox game, right? And it just like blows my mind that he could put all of the things he may be having to Google how to do it, but he could then transfer that information from his Google search to make it actionable. And it was just really neat. And I've loved watching him grow. My husband and I joke all the time that the National Security Agency is going to be calling us one day and saying, excuse me, I need to know who's been using your IP address because somebody hacked into our system, right? Like maybe that'll be a strength for him down the road one day too. But even just like little things, I'm able to find joy in his success in that he is incredible with younger kids. And when we've got a big enough age gap where he's not having to interact as a peer, man, he is such a great little role model for some of the kids that he has an after school program with. And gardening, I can't keep a cactus alive. Okay. I'm just going to throw it out there. That is not one of my strengths. But this kid can make our garden turn into a watermelon zone. And we had watermelon vines coming all over into the backyard last year. And watching him be so proud of himself. And I think that's the thing I love most is when, not just when we see our strengths, or when we see their strengths, but we see that they can see their own
Yeah.
strengths.
Yeah.
Oh man, that just lights my heart up. And so I think, resiliency for him has been a really great thing that he's been able to kind of just take it on the chin. Life is going to happen and I'm going to keep on trucking. Right. And I just love that. I love when we pause and when we can be in a place to see, recognize, and appreciate the strengths that all of our kiddos have. Because when life is hard, it is really tough to be able to see those things. And we have to be able to grow through those experiences. And so this is a message of hope. I hope, if nothing else, for the caregivers that are watching today, that we can get in the hard. The hard is going to be there for us,
Yep.
more likely than not, right? But like so many times I've learned on this community has shown me there is hope on the journey. And when I can pause and I can appreciate my kiddo for the amazing human being that he is, it makes it such a much more fun and colorful and exciting journey to be able to walk this journey with him. I feel privileged to get to be his mom, So anyhow, I could go on and ramble. You guys have heard all of the things. These are just some examples of strengths. So I would love it if you will share with us the strengths that your kiddos have. Put it in the comments wherever you're seeing this. Send us an email. Just tell us, does this resonate with you? Do you guys really appreciate being able to pause? So anyhow, all right. This is the Florida Center's FASD team with the FASD Collective. Shifts that work, talking about that survival success and everything in between. And so for that, we give you till next time. Hope you have a wonderful day.
Go hug your kids.